Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Hawkman, Endless Flight. Take a look at this cover right here. Now, before we actually get into the story itself, let's talk about Hawkman. I know I talked about Hawkman in my DC Universe Classics review of him, but it would be good to give a little refresher course. Hawkman is one of DC's oldest and most beloved characters, and he has such a rich history, and he first shows up in Flash Comics #1. And he does have a rich history. However, this is a downside with the character. A big fault. See, Hawkman has been rebooted and revamped so many times that you really don't know who Hawkman is by the 1990s. You don't know which Hawkman version to follow, what's true, what's not. He's just a complete freaking mess. DC Zero Hour tries to correct this, but it really doesn't work out at all. It wasn't until Justice Society of America, the return of Hawkman, does Hawkman really start to, make sense. See, with Hawkman, he's a constant reincarnation of himself. The same with Hawkgirl. Originally, they were pharaohs in Egypt, or at least Hawkman was, and Hawkgirl was his wife. They found Thanagarian technology along with nth metal. Eventually, they were assassinated by their high priest, and thus started the curse that would reincarnate them. Every time Hawkman and Hawkgirl assumes the identity of Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and they will, and every time they fall in love, they eventually die. And they keep on getting reincarnated. This is their curse. So that means every version of Hawkman there's been has counted in his history, in the continuity of Hawkman. And we have three major Hawkmans. We have the Golden Age Hawkman, which was Carter Hall, who was a archaeologist that worked in a museum that got nth metal technology and the material nth metal and became Hawkman, along with Hawkgirl. They eventually died, and thus came Kitar Hall, which was the Silver, Bronze Age, and part of the modern continuity of Hawkman. Now, Kitar Hall was a Thanagarian police warrior. Eventually he died, and thus we get the current Hawkman, which is called Carter Hall once again. Now, the interesting thing is Carter Hall, this version of Hawkman, remembers everything from his previous lives. However, the new Hawkgirl, Kendra Sundress, doesn't remember a thing. She may have the soul of the previous Hawkgirl, but none of her memories, none of her personality. That means she wants nothing to do with the current Hawkman. However, he wants everything to do with her. Now, that's kind of a replay the basis of who Hawkman is. The great thing about this paperback is that Jeff John gives you an introduction and a good history of Hawkman, not only in DC Comics, but also in the comics themselves. It really clarifies any question anyone may have about Hawkman. Now, there's two major stories in this book. The first one deals with Hawkman and Hawkgirl going to India to save the son of the museum curator. Now, the son has some information about Hawkgirl's parents' death. She wants to find out what happened. They kind of go to multiple different dimensions and different worlds in the Indian mythology and religious culture, and they have to fight their way out. They also come in contact with Copperhead, Tigress, and Shadowteeth. The second story deals with Green Arrow. Someone's masquerading as Green Arrow and killing people. It's up to Green Arrow and Hawkman to find this guy and stop him before he takes any more lives. Now, I love this storyline. There's a lot of good points in the story that I like. The relationship between Hawkman and Hawkgirl is fantastic. Although Hawkman desperately loves and desperately wants to be with Hawkgirl, she wants nothing to do with him. And this creates a good dynamic and something new and something fresh for the Hawk. In addition to that, the different characters that show up in here kind of reintroduces Hawkman into the DC universe very well and makes him very accessible to anyone who has not read Hawkman before. Now, I'll get into that a little bit later, but another point in this I like is the confrontation between Green Arrow and Hawkman. I love Green Arrow. He is a great character. However, Green Arrow has a mouth on him like you wouldn't believe. And it's an admirable trait that Green Arrow will stand up to anyone. Whether you're Superman, Batman, the devil himself, it doesn't matter. Green Arrow will tell you what's on his mind. And this is a very admirable trait that I like about Green Arrow. However, Green Arrow runs his mouth a lot. A lot. And he does do it to your face, which is very nice, because there's a lot of people that will talk about you from a distance or behind your back or through other means, and they won't do it to your face. I hate it when people do that. However, Green Arrow does it to your face. However, there's some people that you just don't talk to their face like that, and Hawkman is one of them. See, Green Arrow and Hawkman get into an argument about Hawkgirl. Green Arrow argues, what do you really know about Hawkgirl? Do you know her favorite color? What's her favorite drink? What's her birthday? She's 19 freaking years old, and you're going around and following her around. She doesn't know you. She doesn't want you around. Yet you're like stalking her. It's just sick. And Hawkman, in his defense, says, well, you really don't know my situation. No one does. I get reincarnated all the time. We are destined to be together. She may not know it, but she loves me. And they kind of go back and forth, and Green Arrow, God bless you, but you said one thing that you shouldn't have said. And Hawkman backhands him. And that was absolutely hilarious, and I enjoyed that. That was great. But they start to bicker with each other, and it was a very nice conversation. And at the end of the story, Green Arrow kind of says to Hawkman, I don't like you, you don't like me. We don't have to be friends. But if I can give you one word of advice, take off the helmet sometime. Go out and be Carter Hawk. You don't have to be cooped up and be Hawkman. And great advice, because he takes it, and it's a very nice, satisfying ending to the story. There's a lot of points in the story I like. I like how it reestablishes Hawkman very well and makes the characters very enjoyable. And this really is a great way for anyone who wants to get in Hawkman or has trouble trying to get into Hawkman. This would be a great place to go. It's very accessible and it's easy to understand. See, the thing about Hawkman is no one really knows much about him if you're not a fan of him. I mean, can you really name any of his rogue gallery? Go ahead, try. I mean, other than Shadow Thief, can you name any of his enemies? No. Can you name where he lives? What city he lives in? I mean, stuff like that you should know, and most people don't. This makes it easy and accessible to pick up Hawkman and to enjoy him. It gives you a history of Hawkman, and it's a fresh start for Hawkman, and I highly recommend people pick this up. This is making me buy more Hawkman stuff. This is my first Hawkman comic. I've always liked him, and I've always been exposed to him in team-ups, but I never really read Hawkman. After reading this, I'm going to continue picking up, and I'll be continuing enjoying him. The great thing about him is no matter what, he can die, and he'll just come back, and there'll be a new Hawkman. So with that said, Hawkman Endless Flight for $12, it's definitely worth picking up. Definitely worth it. And, if you want to get into Hawkman, this is where to go. It is great for reestablishing Hawkman in the DC Universe. Does a beautiful job. God bless you, Jeff Johns. Again, you brought a character more life. So with that said, this is Andrew saying peace out for now.